seated.
Yes.
Okay, you want to call your next witness, Mr. Gibson?
Yes, I would like to call Mr. Dan Knapp. Dan Knapp.
Just looking for some. Can happen. Okay, sir, if you come forward, raise your right hand to be sworn in. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the whole truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right. You have a seat right here in the witness stand. Okay, would you state your name, spelling your last name, please?
Daniel Knapp, K-N-A-P-P.
Thank you. Your witness.
Good afternoon, Mr. Knapp. Mr. Knapp, can you kind of give the court some background on how you know me, how long you've known me, and under what situations do you know me?
Well, we've been acquainted for over the past approximately 10 years, I would say, in business. That type of casual acquaintance relationship in business, and over several different kinds of businesses. And over those years, we've been pretty much in constant contact.
Okay. Do you remember sometime in mid-September of 2010 phoning me, a phone conversation that we had when you called me? Can you elaborate on what that conversation might have been about? You asked me some questions about my what?
Well, I was just, I don't know which occasion you're referring to, but
The case.
Let the witness testify, please.
I would like to know which occasion you're referring to.
The occasion, a phone conversation that you had with me that precipitated an action that you took on my behalf.
Okay. Well, I was checking with you about business matters or whatever, and then you asked me if I could maybe do you a favor and go out to the house where you had been living and get some of your personal belongings that you needed. You had left apparently rather abruptly without much of your things, and you needed them, so I agreed to go out there and get them for you.
Okay. And so you agreed to go get some things for me. And so then what did you do to be able to do that?
Well, I met up with you, and you made out a list of the things that you specifically needed the most, and then, of course, you gave me the address of where to go to, and I went out there.
Did I give you a phone number?
Yeah, I believe you gave me a phone number, and I called and verified that they were aware that I was coming to get the stuff.
Okay. And based on that conversation, you were invited by Miss Martin to come out there?
Yes.
Okay. And you did go out there?
I did go.
Okay. And when you arrived out there, would you tell the court what happened?
Well, I just basically had that list of the things that you wanted, and I was able to share that with her. And
what kinds of things were on the list?
primarily clothing and personal things. I don't know, your briefcase and things of that nature.
Okay. While you were out there, first of all, when you went out there, had you ever met Miss Martin or Mr. Patrick McCaffrey before?
No, I had never met them.
Never met them before.
No.
Okay. Had you met my son Ezekiel before?
No, I hadn't seen him before either.
Okay. So basically, you were just a stranger at a strange place.
Yes.
Okay. Was there a point when you were collecting as a matter of fact, How did you collect the things? Did they bring them to you? Did you were allowed to go inside the house? What happened? How'd that happen?
Well, it was quite a good list of things that I needed to get, and I was invited into the house, and we went around finding all those items that were on the list, and they in fact helped me carry the stuff out to the van.
Okay. When you came back to, let me see, when you retrieved the things, you brought them, did you bring them out to Troutdale, or did you bring them to my house on 47th Avenue? Do you recall?
I took them out to you at Troutdale.
Okay. Was there in your view, a rather bizarre conversation that you had with Miss Martin? Could you tell the court about that?
Well, I wasn't conversing all that much, but she did choose to share with me some information that I don't really understand why she would tell me, a total stranger, this information, but it was about your having particularly left your Bible in that den or whatever it was, living space that you had there where your television was, and that you had put pornographic material in the Bible, and was left exposed for your son to find. And I don't know why in the world she would necessarily tell me that, but.
And when she told you that, what did you think about that, knowing what you know about me?
Well, I always known that you were a rather, very high integrity person and high morals and church going and all that, and it was hard for me to believe that, that whatever had happened, and I don't know why somebody would tell me that except to impugn your character.
Are you aware that I'm a deacon at my church?
Yes.
Okay. You go to church yourself, do you?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Are you regular attend on a weekly basis?
Every week.
Okay. So when she mentioned that I had put pornographic material in a holy Bible, what did you think about that?
I thought that was very strange.
Okay.
And actually unbelievable.
Okay. So what did you do next?
Well, basically I was just there to get the stuff, and when I had it, I took off and went out to deliver it to you.
When we then met, you conveyed some information about what you just said to me, and what did you tell me, and what was my reaction?
You were very surprised, of course, and based on my impression of you, and it just wasn't consistent with your, character, and you were really surprised, and of course you denied it and said that never happened. No way. So.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Knapp. I appreciate you
Any
going to.
questions, Ms. Martin?
I do.
Okay.
So you say you've known Mr. Gibson for 10 years.
About 10 years, yeah.
That's how long I've known him. And you've never met me or his son.
I never met you or his son.
So you're not deeply involved in his life as a parent at all?
Well, there wasn't any really valid reason why we would have an encounter, because I was only encountering him in business when he was out and about by himself,
So you have no information about Mr. Gibson as a parent?
Never talked about it.
You're claiming that I told you that he glued this kiddie porn in his Bible. Is that your testimony?
That's what I understood you to say, yes.
That's not my testimony, but you went back and told him that I claimed that he glued it in there. I just want to be clear. You're saying what I told you is that he put this kiddie porn in, and that
That's what I understood you to say at the time, yes.
Okay. Would you be surprised to know that that's not what I believe I told you?
I guess I would be surprised at that or anything about this.
You don't recall that I told you that I glued the kiddie porn in his Bible after I found it under his bed?
I don't remember that you said that. Maybe
Okay.
you did and I misunderstood you.
Okay. Were you there the day that the truck came to
No.
take all the rest of his
No,
belongings?
I wasn't involved in that.
So you've met me once. Was I cooperative? Did I
Oh,
help you get
yes,
what you needed?
I felt so, yes.
Okay. Did you witness anything in my home that made you concerned that Ezekiel was being abused or that I was a mentally ill, out of control parent? I mean, obviously you're going to look around while you're there on his behalf. Did you witness anything that concerned you?
I don't think that I could say there was anything unusual about that
No
encounter.
more questions. Thank you.
On redirect, on my exhibit list, we have a Holy Bible, number 36. Mr. Knapp, you never actually saw the Bible.
I did not.
You did not see the Bible. But you told me that, as far as you knew, she said that I had put the information in there.
Yes, that's
Now she's saying that she actually glued the information into the Bible. Now that you've heard that, what do you think? Why would somebody do such a thing?
still pretty strange, either way.
Your Honor, we have an evidence of the Bible, and I don't know a good way of doing this, but in the book of Ephesians, there's pornographic information, pictures glued in, and in the book of Ezekiel, there is pornographic stuff in here. Now, I never said that she glued that in. I don't know.
This isn't the appropriate time for you to say what you said, okay? You're going to take the witness stand and you're going to tell me everything you want to.
Okay,
And,
but I
and
just,
that's the appropriate time to.
okay, that's what I want to know. I didn't know how, it's kind of
Mr.
clumsy.
Knapp's already said he never saw the Bible, so
Okay.
that's it.
Okay. When I asked you a few minutes about the pornographic material, I don't believe that I said the word glue. She brought that up. Is that what you heard? Okay, I have no further questions. Thank you very much.
I'm done.
All right, thank you, Mr. Knapp. Next witness, please.
Arliss Phones.
May I ask what time you're going to cut us loose today so I can arrange transportation on the break, if we get a break?
All right, come forward, ma'am. Stand before me and raise your right hand to be sworn in.
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the whole truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, please have a seat in the witness stand. Ms. Martin was asking what time that we're going to recess this evening, around 5 o'clock.
Thank you.
Could you state your name, please, spelling your last name?
Arliss K. Phones, F like Frank, O-N-E-S like Sam.
Thank you. Your witness?
Good afternoon, Ms. Phones. How are you?
Good.
Appreciate you coming out this afternoon. Can you give some background as to how you know me? How long have we known each other? How'd that happen?
We've known each other for at least 2 years. Wardell is living in my daughter's house. My granddaughter, Savannah, who lives with me, has played with Ezekiel, and so we've known them during this time.
Okay, was there a first meeting at a burger restaurant on Barber Boulevard in Portland?
Yes.
Who was at that meeting with you the first time I met you?
I was there, Ezekiel was there, and a friend of ours, a friend of mine.
Okay. So Ezekiel was with me when you first met him that day?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Phones, you mentioned that living in your daughter's house. Is it not true that we've are in the process of purchasing that home.
That is true.
Okay. And what kind of home is it? How many bedrooms? How big is it?
It has 3 bedrooms upstairs and 1 or more downstairs, and a couple of rooms that could be bedrooms, or they could be recreation rooms or whatever purpose.
Okay.
It's a ranch-style daylight basement in a very safe, peaceful neighborhood, near school, near recreation center, near Gabriel Park in Portland.
Okay. Is there a skateboard park and skateboard?
A little area, I believe.
Is there tennis courts?
I'm not sure.
Okay. A lot of different typical park activities.
Yes.
There is a recreation center with indoor swimming pool and all those kinds of things.
Yes, there is.
The school is Hayhurst School, is that correct?
That is right.
Is that 3 blocks from the residence?
Yes, that's true.
Okay, and that has a full school ground, and there's a park adjacent to it as well, is
Yes,
that correct?
there is.
Okay. Ms. Phones, you are, along with your daughter, involved with a number of different properties at one time or another, rentals?
Yes, my daughter had rental properties, and she has another property.
Okay. Ms. Phones, do you remember a number of times or how many times where Ezekiel and myself have come to your home for what?
I invited them to come to my home for Sunday dinner.
Okay. Is that something that you did once, twice, or several times?
Several times.
So you've gotten to know Ezekiel?
Yes,
Now you have a granddaughter a year or 2 years older than Ezekiel.
that is true. Savannah.
Are they friends?
Yes, they are.
They played together?
Yes, they did.
Was there a time that you can remember that they came over and wanted to do some bicycle riding? Do you remember anything about that?
Yes. Wardell played with the children in the street as they tried to ride bicycles. Wardell taught them, Ezekiel and my daughter Savannah, how to ride.
Now, at that time, Savannah was using training wheels.
Yes, she was.
She does not use training wheels now, does she?
No.
She learned how to ride a bicycle?
Yes, she did.
Who taught her how to ride a bicycle?
Wardell.
Oh, okay. Let me ask you this. You're involved in a number of activities that are church-related. Could you talk about that?
My husband and I are members of a group called Good Samaritan Ministries that is involved a lot with counseling, and I've had some classes there and been a help to people. Good Samaritan Ministries gives help to people where they need help and how they need help, mainly in counseling and in other parts of the world through education. They fund schools in various countries where children
What,
are
34,
taught.
35 different countries around the world?
Yes.
Do you remember me taking some classes at Good Samaritan Ministries?
Well, I remember that when we had a Bible study that you came with us and we spent time in the classes.
They've had some other functions, fundraising
Yes.
functions and so forth. Did you recall me ever attending any of those?
Yes.
Okay.
Their main annual fundraising dinner.
Okay. Do you know anything about the bread ministry and how I was involved with that?
Oh, yes. They are able to get bread that is, old bread from the bakeries and give it to people who need it. And Wardell came with his van and took a lot of the bread.
The church van?
Yes.
And that would be Highland Christian Center's church van?
Yes.
And your husband is involved with that bread ministry pretty strong, isn't he?
Yes. He has helped also. Yes.
Do you remember a time in which I called you about that I had an order from this court that I could come out and get my things in my Mercedes-Benz? Do you remember that?
Yes.
Do you remember me calling you and asking you what?
You asked if we could help you move, that you had to have your things out by a certain date, and would we help? And my husband and I did.
Were there other people that helped?
Yes,
About how many?
I'm not
Roughly,
sure.
roughly.
4 or 5.
4 or 5 other people? And how did we move it? We moved it in a car, in a bus, what?
In a moving van.
Big U-Haul van or something like that?
Yes.
Okay. Did you recall the group and body of people before we went in there doing a prayer?
Yes, we prayed together before we went in.
Okay. Do you recall the truck getting stuck?
Yes,
It got stuck in the mud on their property,
yes,
and so we were there a little bit longer than because we had to get the truck unstuck.
yes.
Was there a tow truck that was involved?
A tow truck came to pull the truck out.
Okay. So we were there for a while, then
Yes.
probably longer than what we anticipated, correct?
Yes.
Now, did I go on the property?
No, you did not.
I had a court order preventing me, restraining me from stepping on the property, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember, were you privy to a conversation? No, let me rephrase it. After we brought where did we bring the load of things that were in the truck from Miss Martin's residence? Where did we take them?
Back to the house that is my daughter's house.
That's at 5907 Southwest 47th Avenue in
That's
Portland?
right.
Okay. You told me something that was a little bit disturbing. What was it that you told me?
I told you that my husband said to me that there was porn in your Bible.
And what did you think about that being the Christian Good Samaritan woman that you are?
This is weird.
Okay.
I thought that if this were true, it was done to discredit us with you.
Was there something else your husband said about Savannah, your granddaughter, and me?
I don't remember. I'm not quite sure what you might be thinking of.
About my relationship with young girls?
No, I don't remember anything about that.
Okay. And so I live in your house. Is it true that we're in the process of purchasing that
That is
house?
true.
Okay. And doing some of the remodeling on the house as well?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming.
Okay, cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. You testified that you've known Mr. Gibson about 2 years.
Yes.
For 13 months, he's had no contact with his son, so you were only interacting with him and Ezekiel for approximately 9 months. Is that accurate?
Probably so.
And he had visitation every other weekend and a few hours on Wednesday. So how often in that 9 months did you hang out with Mr. Gibson and our son?
They were probably at lunch at our house at least 4 or 5 times, and my granddaughter played with them at least 3 times, and probably more than that.
Okay. You claim that you witnessed Mr. Gibson teaching Ezekiel how to ride a bike for the first time?
He was, Wardell was teaching him how to ride on hills.
Oh, so this wasn't Ezekiel's first time on a bike?
No, but Ezekiel didn't know how to ride up and down a hill.
Okay. Do you recall the day that you came to, of course you recall the day you came to pack Mr. Gibson's things.
That's right.
When you called ahead, was I cooperative? Did I invite you to come do what you needed to do?
You were cooperative.
Did I help? Did I pack all of his things and then help you get them into the 12,000-pound truck you brought?
I think that you did help.
Do you recall me telling your entire group not to drive the truck in the backyard and sink it in my yard?
I didn't know.
No.
I
Did
don't-
you repair the damage that you caused by sinking the truck in my
I
backyard?
was not there at that time. I don't know.
Previous to him moving into my home, he was living in your home and looking to purchase it. Is that not correct?
Yes.
But he came to me and told me that he had to move out because you were renting it. What had happened?
We were going to rent it out too, but we didn't ever get to that stage.
So he wasn't performing on paying rent or coming up with the money to purchase, or?
The money to purchase was not available at the time.
Okay. The day that you helped him and his crew, or I'm sorry, his crew move, you brought your granddaughter Savannah, is that right?
Yes.
Did I invite Savannah in to play with Ezekiel?
Yes, you did.
Did I give everyone access to Ezekiel and Savannah? Help yourself, make yourself at home. You got to witness Ezekiel playing with Savannah?
Ezekiel and Savannah were in a room with you and with Patrick, and none of the adults went in there, I don't believe.
You weren't invited in there, or you didn't choose
I
to go?
don't know. I didn't, I mean, I was busy moving.
Did you feel unsafe that Savannah was with Mr. McEachern?
I don't, I didn't know him, so I didn't have any opinions.
You know, he hadn't told you anything that your granddaughter might not be safe around Mr. McEachern?
No.
Okay. That day, I invited you to bring Savannah back.
Yes,
You acknowledged that I did that.
you did that.
But in the last 13 months that he's been saying there's sexual abuse going on in my house, you've never called me, text me, email me, or brought Savannah. When you had the opportunity to come waltz into my house and see what's going on, you didn't choose to contact me, did you?
I did not.
Okay.
We are very busy people.
You're just too busy to advocate for Ezekiel. I understand.
We are so busy we don't even contact our friends
I
generally.
understand. Was he telling you over the last 13 months that his son's been molested?
I was concerned, and
Wait, too busy to give me a call.
I helped him go to child welfare.
Okay. But you had access to my home. You had been invited to
I
bring your
did.
granddaughter, and I'm not through with my question, please, ma'am. Yeah, you had been invited to continue to interact.
I would have been afraid to bring her.
Objection, Your Honor, it's argumentative.
I think she answered the question. She said
So
she was
you-
afraid to, what was it?
To bring her.
Afraid of me, or afraid of Mr. McEachern, or you weren't afraid when you dropped her with Mr. McEachern because you were busy moving. So what changed your mind after that?
I was afraid of the whole place, and I cannot tell you why, but I did not feel good about it. I
Okay.
was afraid.
You were afraid, okay. And so you weren't afraid for Ezekiel living there continually. You were willing to just move on and let him do
I
all
was
that.
afraid, and I really wanted that he would get to go to a program that we have had our granddaughter at called CARES.
So why didn't you call me?
He went to child welfare.
See,
I
and-
went with Wardell to
And when
child
was it-
welfare.
what was
Let
the
her
date of
answer
it?
the question before you interrupt her, please.
I'm sorry.
Continue, ma'am.
I went to child welfare, and Wardell had already been there twice before me in Washington County, and I raised my voice saying, please investigate this. And several weeks later, when I hadn't heard anything, I called again, and I talked with a caseworker who said they had talked to the counselor at the school and that he had said there are no red flags. I didn't know what we could do at that point.
Can you give me a time, just approximate month, or what
It
year
was-
is this going?
It was before the trial.
This is the trial, ma'am.
It was before the trial in Washington County where Wardell was charged.
Before the criminal trial.
Yes.
But the criminal trial was 6 months after he left my home. And he's been claiming that he witnessed the sexual abuse before he left my home. So in that first 6 months, when did you engage the child welfare people?
That I'm not sure. And he had already done so. But they had, it seemed, taken no action.
But you have no
I
clue
went with
whether
them,
that
too.
was in September or in April, 2 days before the trial? No.
It was a while before the trial, but I'm not sure when.
No further questions, Your Honor.
On redirect, Ms. Fons, you mentioned child welfare. Isn't it accurate to say it was Child Protective Services?
In Oregon, I think it's called child welfare, but that's its new name, I think.
Okay.
It's the same as Child Protective Services.
You, after being concerned, contacted a organization called CARE. What is that?
There is an organization called CARES, and in Oregon, any child who, when a doctor examines them, any doctor who thinks there may have been some problem with sexual abuse, the doctor sends the child to CARES. And that is what happened with my granddaughter.
So you've had experience with CARES
I
before?
took my granddaughter to CARES in Oregon. And they have expert people who talk with the child. And the child is made so welcome that my daughter always asked to be able to go back again. And they give each child a little blanket to take away when the child goes. It's a very safe place for a child.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Miss Martin was curious as to her congeniality and inviting you to come back with Savannah, and knowing that Savannah and Ezekiel are very good friends. And I noticed that when she asked you about having Savannah alone with Mr. McEachran in the home, you hesitated and said that you had some kind of fear. Would you care to elaborate on that?
Savannah wasn't alone because Ms. Martin was there also in the room. But I didn't feel good about that. And
So that's
it's
why
just
you-
an intuition, just a feeling.
So is that why you never called her to see if Savannah could come back over there and play?
Yes.
Okay. Are you curious as to where Ezekiel is, like the rest of us is at this date?
Yes, because I have talked with you, so I have heard what happened when you were taken away. And Ezekiel was crying, "No, no, Daddy didn't do anything."
Objection, Your Honor, it's hearsay. She did not hear it directly. She's quoting someone else's opinion.
Sustained.
Are you aware, Ms. Phones, that there is a tape of that conversation?
Yes, I am.
So you heard the tape?
Well, no, I did not hear the tape.
Okay. Are you concerned about Ezekiel's welfare right now?
I am very concerned about his welfare.
Okay. In your relationship with me and Ezekiel, is there anything that further that you'd like to say about playtimes and play dates with Savannah at your place or my place or anything like that? Or are there some? Or, let me ask you this: do you have any concerns about Savannah being alone with me?
No, none whatsoever.
Now she has been alone with me on what? Several occasions, a few occasions.
Yes.
Okay. And after her being with me and coming back home, was there any conversations about any inappropriate behavior with me?
There was no inappropriate behavior in any conversations.
Okay. Would you be surprised that I've been accused of all kinds of inappropriate behaviors and abusive kinds of things? Is that the kind of person that you know me to be, or
No
what?
objection, Your Honor. She doesn't have a crystal ball either.
You use the surprise word again. It's an improper question.
Okay.
Sustained. Next question.
If you heard that I had been abusive,
It calls for a hearsay answer.
okay, do you know of any abusive? Do you know of any time that I have been abusive to anybody at any time, anywhere?
No, I do not.
Okay. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Any
very-
further
one more thing. Go ahead. Elaborate.
I want to say that I saw Ezekiel when he first came, and saw his dad, and he ran to him, and he grabbed him around the neck and hung on to him for dear life. That is the relationship between Wardell and Ezekiel, so that if he is being kept from Ezekiel, that is a torture to both Wardell and Ezekiel.
When was that, ma'am?
That was when we were
Give me a
visiting.
date and
Let's see.
month and close to a day, year.
Oh my, a year, probably a year.
What year?
In what year? I haven't seen him in 14 months. What year?
Probably, maybe it was 2009 or 2010, the beginning. I think it,
prior to the crime.
Yes.
Objection? There has been no crime?
Sustained. All right, thank you, ma'am. You're excused. Next witness, Mr. Gibson.
I would like to call at this time Alicia Jordan Rainier.
May I request some more water? I've exhausted my pot.
Hi. Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the whole truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, please have a seat right there. Okay, would you state your name, spelling your last name?
Rainer, Rainner. First name's Alicia, Alicia. I
Thank
go
you.
by Jordan.
Go ahead, Mr. Gibson.
Good afternoon, Jordan. How are you?
I'm good.
I appreciate you coming to testify. Can we kind of go over our background a little bit? About how long have you known me, and if you can recall under the circumstances in which we first met?
It's been about 6 years, and I met you when I was trying to restore my credit.
At that time, I was doing professional credit restoration, was your understanding?
Yes.
Okay, you referred to me by a ex-professional football player?
Yes.
Okay. What do you do? What kind of work do you? What's your background experience? And could you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and what your aspirations are?
I work in consumer banking right now. I am also now a member of the Screen Actors Guild, so professionally acting and pursuing a physician assistant career as well with school.
You've done some commercials for some major car companies and so forth all across the country?
Ford right now, and United States Postal Service, and I'm on the cover of OHSU's website.
I'm sorry, you're on the cover of
OHSU, their website.
Oregon Health Sciences University?
Yes.
On their website?
Yeah,
Your
doing
face is
promotion
on that?
for the Women's Center.
Was there, you've known me professionally when I was helping banks and mortgage companies process some of their clients for credit restoration, correct?
Correct.
That was the first engagement that we had, correct?
That's correct.
But since that time, we've grown to know each other on a different level. Would you like to talk about that?
I've gone back to church, so Wardell and a couple of people that we mutually knew were going to the same church. So I've actually going to Highland Christian Center right now. I've been introduced there, and he's helping me with my father's dying right now of cancer, so he's helping with the Kangen water machine and just spiritual counseling, and he's like a second dad to me.
Okay. You have a child?
Yes.
What's his name?
Isaiah.
How old is he?
He'll be 6 this month.
Does he know Ezekiel?
Yes.
How does he know Ezekiel?
He met Ezekiel back when I had first met Wardell almost 6 years ago. The kids played together for a summer, and he's basically been around him on and off when Wardell's had visitation with them at the house.
Was there a time that we took them out to a river in Vancouver, or a lake in Vancouver together? They played?
Vancouver and Gabriel Park in Southwest Portland a lot last summer. Yeah, last summer, the summer before last.
Playing basketball?
And basketball and
Tennis?
bike riding, yeah, kid stuff.
All that kind of stuff. And so Ezekiel and Isaiah are friends?
Yes.
Of course, Isaiah hasn't seen Ezekiel in a long time.
No.
Does he sometimes ask what happened to Ezekiel?
He past, I tried not to bring up this situation. It's just not too healthy, but yeah, it's come up when we go over there. Where's Ezekiel? They play toys together.
Okay. You were called, there was an event on September 14th of 2010 in the evening, and you got a phone call from me, and can you tell what happened, an event out at Miss Martin's place? Can you describe what was told to you by me and what you overheard on the phone?
I wasn't there, but I did get a phone call, repeated phone calls from Wardell trying to reach me once I got my cell phone, and he had said he was, upset, frightened, and he needed to remove himself from the situation. I hear a man screaming in the background, "Oh, that's a lie, he's lying." There's a lot of commotion, and Wardell said that he wanted me to stay on the phone until the police got there, which I did, and then he got off the phone, said the police were here, and then following that situation was the trial for you and Patrick.
Okay, were you aware that somehow or another, did you become aware that I was arrested, I had been arrested?
Yeah, you had contacted me after you got released from Washington County Jail, I believe.
And so during the interim time, you found out that my rights to be able to have weekend visitations had been suspended?
Yes.
Okay. In knowing me, as well as you know me, we've had prayer meetings at my house and at church in different places, and did Bible study and all that kind of stuff. Is that true?
That's correct.
Okay. Did I help you through a situation that you were going through at one time where you needed a little bit of counseling? And was I, what did?
I had about roughly a year and a half ago a breakup of a long-term relationship. It was devastating to myself and my son. I just kind of hit a low emotionally and as far as my self-esteem, and it was just a transitional period in life. So Wardell's one of the people that I called on for help, and spent a lot of time at church and over at his house, actually, myself and my son. And yeah, he was just being a dad.
Okay. And so out of that counseling, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm moving on with my life.
Okay. You doing better than you were?
Yeah.
Okay. There was you were was asked to testify by Julie Fallender, my attorney in Oregon. Can you talk a little bit about what you were asked to testify to?
It was the trial for Wardell was being convicted of assault with a
Being charged?
Or being charged, I'm sorry, not convicted, of assault with a deadly weapon. So I was called to testify, I guess basically as a character witness and a witness to the phone call when he called me in regards to the incident with him and Patrick.
Okay, and you did testify?
I did testify.
Okay. At the end of the trial, you were out in front of the courtroom, and were you privy to a conversation between Denise Martin and an officer? An officer, Deputy Mark Shaw?
I believe so. He appeared to be Hispanic. It was right before I actually was allowed to enter the courtroom before my testimony.
And there was a conversation that you found very... What did you think about the conversation that you overheard between Officer Shaw and Miss Martin?
Well, I was sitting there just waiting, and Miss Martin and the officer were sitting across from me, and she had... It was kind of weird. She was asking the officer, you remember when you showed up that Wardell said that he was going to kill Patrick, right? And the officer was kind of like, no. He kind of just had a look on his face like, no. And then followed by that, I can't remember the exact details verbatim, but it was questions. She was asking the officer about perjury and what's the extent of what happens if someone's found guilty of perjury. And it was repeated questions, and the officer was kind of standoffish, like he was waiting to go testify as well in regards to, I guess, what he saw when he showed up.
Okay. You were there for the reading of the verdict?
Yes.
And what was the reading of the verdict?
You were acquitted on everything.
Okay. Was Mr. McEachran and Miss Martin in the room for the reading of the verdict?
They actually bailed at some point, possibly after lunch, and the, I guess it was the DA that was representing their case.
Miss Glasson?
Yeah, she kind of looked frazzled, and I know Wardell's attorney, Julie, kind of leaned over and was like, "Where's your clients?" And she's like, I don't know. And so the verdict was read, and we all left, and it was kind of like, where'd they go? Where'd they went?
So what was your thinking what did you think about them not being there for the reading of the verdict as they were trying to put me away for 5 years?
Just ethically, it just seemed very strange. If all these claims were to be true, why wouldn't you want to see the person that did all this harm, see them sentenced and put away for what you claim to be this heinous crime that they committed?
And so when she was talking about the ramifications of perjury in the hallway to the police officer and then not showing up for the reading of the verdict, what did you think about that in conjunction with each other?
It somewhat painted a picture of the questions of perjury really weren't directed towards Wardell. It was possibly her own questions, and maybe she was nervous about possibly being found or things flipping over as far as perjury on her end. So
In other words,
it looked guilty.
In other words, did you think that maybe she was afraid of being arrested for lying under oath?
You're testifying again. Next question, please.
No further questions.
Anything of this witness?
Yes. When I met you, Miss Raines, you were homeless and you had come to live on our couch with your son. How come you were without a place to live?
I was never homeless.
Why were you living on our couch?
I came over for a weekend because I had a disagreement with my current boyfriend. So I've never been homeless.
In the course of the week that you were there, you left your child in my care. Mm-hmm. So you weren't concerned about me caring for your young child?
At that time, no.
Okay.
No, I just met you.
You stated that when Mr. Gibson called you the night of the incident, we'll call it, that he was upset and frightened. Mm-hmm. And that's what you told the jury in the Washington County trial. The police said that he was calm as a cucumber sitting in a chair when they arrived. So did you help calm him down, or how come they had such a different view of his state of mind than you did?
I have no idea. That's the words that came out of his mouth, is that he was scared and he wanted me to stay on the phone with him. So I don't know what his demeanor was when the officers were there or when they got to Washington County.
Did he tell you he was going to press charges because he was assaulted?
He said you guys would be going to court. That's basically what I knew. Possibly pressing charges for...
So he told you that he was assaulted?
Yes.
But he wasn't planning on pressing charges when the police got there?
At some point, yes. I believe he said he was going to press charges.
Oh, so he did tell you he was going to press charges? Okay. And did you tell that to the jury in Washington County?
I don't believe that question was asked to me when I was on the stand.
Other than the weekend, whatever, that you camped on our couch, you don't have any experience with me in my home with Ezekiel parenting. I haven't seen you since then.
I do. When I first met Miss Martin, that's when things appeared to be somewhat stable with her and Wardell's relationship. And again, I was new to the whole dynamic of the relationship. I did express concern about the way her child gets away with misbehavior. I guess I'm somewhat old school, even though I'm young, that children need to be disciplined. And I did notice that, he got away with a lot, and I brought that to Miss Martin's attention. But definitely as the years have gone by, I've seen a big change in Ezekiel's demeanor and his behavior. Things in regards to him still using the restroom in his pants at 6 years old, and these big emotional meltdowns. It just appears to be like some emotional trauma is going on with him. And him being confused about what he can eat and what he can't eat. It's been challenging when Wardell's been around and we've come over to visit with the kids that, he's got all this knowledge about what he can and can't eat and what my mom says. So it just seems a lot of knowledge for a young child about food.
So you don't care about what you feed your son?
I do care about what I feed my son.
So you care, it's important, but you have issue that I care so much.
It's obsessive.
Are you
Compulsive,
aware of the
obsessive,
fact that
compulsive.
Ezekiel has food allergies?
Yes. But I
Okay,
think
so
some
it
of the
doesn't-
food allergies may be, I'm not a doctor, so some food allergies may be legit, but it could be an idea that's been planted that he has allergies that there's no documentation of.
So, as a custodial parent who creates his diet, you felt it was inappropriate, Ree,
I think
to be
some of
focused
your
on health food?
No, some of your ideas have definitely been good, because there's a lot of parents that feed their children a lot of junk, soda, over a big amount of candy and sugar, but he's still a child, and children should be able to experience candy on an occasional basis.
A child that's allergic to it that might become sick because of it should have that opportunity.
No, I've never seen Ezekiel
So
fall.
you really don't have any medical
No, I have been in the
information.
presence of Ezekiel when he's eaten something sweet and he hasn't fallen out and broken out in some crazy rash. We haven't had to rush him off somewhere.
Are you aware of the fact that his father ended up in the hospital flat on his back with diabetes from his abusive eating patterns?
Yeah, I was actually
Okay,
there.
thank you.
I was there.
In the last 13 months that Wardell has been restrained from seeing his son, have you tried to contact me to see if I was willing to visit with you, have a play date, so you could try and get in and advocate for Ezekiel? Have you called me, texted me,
No.
emailed me, tried to
I want to be
advocate for
around
Ezekiel?
you or
anyway?
the people that you hang with, so no, I wouldn't call you.
Okay, so in order to advocate for Ezekiel, you're not willing to even pick up the phone or send an email?
No, I spend time with him when he's in the presence of his father.
Okay, so you're not that concerned about his welfare the last...
I am, but half the time Wardell's not able to contact or get a hold of him, so that ruins it for everyone.
Well, you have
involved
my
as
number.
well.
You could have contacted me, but you chose not to. Okay, I have no further questions for this witness.
Anything further, Mr. Gibson?
Yes. You said that you think that she's compulsive and overdoes this food thing with Ezekiel. Would you like to, what do you mean by that?
Well, I can. One example sticks out that was most recent is that Miss Martin wanted to attend our church for a Sunday service, so she came, brought Ezekiel. I actually, my boyfriend let me borrow his larger car, and we went and picked them up, and we all went to church together. And that day, just so happens that my pastor was talking about healthy eating as as people in general, we need to eat healthier, and a lot of the African American community is overweight, struggling with diabetes, and he's tired of coming to pray for people. They're having these breakdowns due to their eating, but then it's due to the eating. So he was basically advocating help to get some type of nutrition thing involved going at the church, a ministry about healthy eating and changing eating habits. And after service, they served donuts and tea and coffee in the little open area at the entrance of the church. And Ezekiel had wanted a donut, and Denise told him no, and she's like, oh, you guys are poisoning the congregation with this, the poison that you guys sell. And it was just like this big, huge issue over a honey glazed donut. It was just very strange. And Ezekiel's screaming and crying, and she's talking about it's poison. It was just really overdone. It was a donut.
Do you remember me telling you about an event where I went to Portland Adventist Hospital and found out after so many years that I was diabetic?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember me telling you how I'd received a phone call from Ezekiel while I was in the hospital?
Yes.
And do you recall what the basis of that conversation was that I told you?
I don't completely remember. No.
Something about that Daddy is dying in the hospital. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that. I'm sorry.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
I have no further questions.
Any further? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Next witness, please.
Your Honor, I have Mr. Ralph Prentice that has always been on my list of witnesses. Mr. Prentice is in bed with some kind of a flu or whatever, but he said that if we could make a phone call to him, he'd be willing to testify that way. Would that be possible?
If you want to allow it, Your Honor, I have no objections.
Do you have any other witnesses you can call, Mr. Gibson?
Yes, I have
Call a live witness first,
Okay.
please.
Richard Gill.
Hey, Mr. Gill. Raise your right hand, please. You solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the whole truth, so help you God? I do. Please be seated. Say your name for us, please, and spell your last name.
Richard Gill, Gillricchard. No middle initial, Your Honor.
Pardon me?
No middle initial.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Mr. Gill.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Gill, how long have we known each other?
It's a very interesting question. I met you first, Wardell, in my history of the banking world. I've been involved for almost 20-some years. I met you down by Clackamas Town Center, being involved with mortgages. At the time, I was working for America One Finance. I think at that time when I first met you, actually I may have been working for Capital Mortgage Banking Corporation over in the city, but I went out and I heard about a gentleman who was instituting credit repair for some of our, what I would say, A- or B clients that we were trying to elevate to a better status. And in that capacity, we always looked for, a lot of times we did ourselves our own credit repair, whether it would be collections or helping a client to overcome things to later on be able to qualify for a loan. And the service that we were always, many loan
Mr.
officers.
Gill, just give me a year.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That would be, the first year would have been, that would have been around 06. 05.
2006?
2006, yes, sir.
Next question, please.
Okay. Mr. Gill, the reason I've called you is for twofold. Because of your business interest that coincided with some of the things I was doing with banking and mortgages. But there's some other things that we've been doing lately, as I have not been in the credit restoration business now for about a year or so. And can you tell me how we were reintroduced again on something completely different?
I've been working on a water project that involves clean water. And the way I got that project was from my days in the mortgage business, I was tapped on the shoulder by a company called Summit Global Group out of Portland, Oregon. Summit Global Group does international loans, enterprise loans, small business loans, large business loans. And so in their efforts to find financing for this, what's called, at the time was called TPWC, Trans-Pacific Water Company out of California, basically. And so they asked me, Charles Neeren from Summit Global Group asked me if I could help them find financing. So unbeknownst to me, you were behind that financing, behind bringing Charles Neeren and Summit Global Group to the table. Based upon my contacts in the industry and different trainings I've gone through and people that I know, when I was asked to do that, I said that I would use my contacts to try to finance the water company. I then met you with Charles Neeren. We always met at a McDonald's off of Powell Street, around 36 or 37, 38th and Powell. I live on 35th and Franklin, very close. At one of these meetings, here walked to the door a person that I had thought that I had known before. And when the glasses came out and the suit coat came off, I looked, wait a minute, I know you from somewhere. You said, what did you do? I said, I was in the mortgage business. He said, well, wait, I did a credit report. I said, oh, that's where I know you from. I said, didn't you have an office down by Clackamas Town Center? He said, yes. I said, oh, you were that tall guy up in there. It was you. So it rekindled our memories, and from there I did decide to take on the Trans-Pacific Water Company's issue, and I'm right now almost funded, which you have a large part in a named commission of that funding. And we are going to provide clean water from throughout the United States. We're going to clean dirty water to allow it to be used for irrigation, for drinking water, for a number of different purposes.
So this is a technology that this water company has patented?
That is true. This technology is by a gentleman by the name of Peter Hall. Peter Hall is
All right, that's very interesting, but it's got nothing to do with
All
Ezekiel.
right,
So
so-
let's move on.
So the fact that you have been contracted to find that, what was it, $30 million?
That's correct.
Okay, and that since has been adjusted, but it's still multiples of millions of dollars, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and we expect to have that concluded and funded this week, next week?
It's in a matter of days.
Matter of days.
From where we are stood prior, yes, it's a matter of days.
Okay. You've also been active in the home on 47th and Pendleton that I'm living in closing that deal with Citibank, is that correct?
That is correct.
And so I will be owning that home, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Subject to some unannounced catastrophe or a terrorist attack, yes, you should be owning that home.
Okay. There's another reason that I called you on the stand, other than business, and you are an expert in foster care, are you not?
The state of Washington, the state of Oregon think I am.
What do you mean by that?
I've had a number of children given to me by the state of Oregon based upon my 18 years in the state of Washington. And I have shared my experiences. I was a ward of the state of Washington from the age of 0. So when I was born in Washington, I went through a number of different, I would consider, traumas. I was eventually placed in one foster home, and then another, and then another, and then another, until I was 18. 4 different ones. Wonderful places, for the most part. But there are similar experiences that I experienced in one of them that relate to what we're exactly talking about today.
Were you sexually abused as a child?
Yes.
Is it difficult for you to talk about this?
It's, yes, it is. It's something that as a man, you never, let me rephrase that.
Let me interject here. I need you to make an offer of proof at this time how this is relevant to the case that I have before me.
It is alleged that my son has been sexually molested by her live-in friend. Mr. Gill has had this experience and has been, since that time in his adult life, has been an advocate for sexually and otherwise abused children. And so I wanted to hear the effects of what can happen to children that have gone through this over a period of time as they mature into young adults and adulthood, and that was the reason I brought it up.
And what's the basis for Mr. Gill to give an opinion of that nature, Mr. Gibson?
He
is Mr. Gill's?
is an advocate for sexually abused children, and so he's a person that has knowledge about this. So I thought that the court would like to hear his testimony regarding that, since this is the issue that I am concerned about as far as my son is concerned.
He's not a medical doctor, a psychiatrist, or as far as I know, licensed in this area. If he can't present expert testimony, he's welcome to opine like any other citizen.
Fine.
Opine means give an
Mr.
opinion.
Gill, you said that
Objection sustained, because unless you can lay some foundation to show that this man is an expert in this field based upon his education, experience as a professional, treatment of children, something in the sexual abuse field other than being a victim himself, his testimony is not going to be allowed.
Okay, Mr. Gill, you mentioned that the state of Oregon and the state of Washington has proclaimed you an expert in this field. Why do you say that?
I've been given various foster kids, white, black. I've been given adults.
You're a placement for foster children,
I have been for the state of Oregon based upon only my background,
based upon the fact that you were sexually abused as a child.
based upon the fact of a full background from 0 to 18 and beyond.
As
And
a child of the foster system.
out of a child of, there's negatives and positives. Okay, so I'm not here to testify about some negatives in Washington State. This is one of the better states for the type of child I was. Okay, in my case, I've overcome various things that Ezekiel could be going through. So when I have in the past testified on the behalf of children in court, I've had them in my care, various children. The first one was from Washington. His name is Eric Jones. He still lives in Vancouver right here.
He was in your care?
He was in my care from the state of Oregon through a lady named...
Okay, and you testified regarding that child's care based upon your...
I can testify not to his care, Austin McKinney's care, a young lady, adults care, who they had me help get off of neuroleptics. Excuse me, I'm talking to the judge.
Continue, Mr. Gill.
I have also helped children place back, most of the children that have been in my care have been placed back with their families. They don't go back in the state care. This is a noted thing by the state of Oregon. They've given me, the first license they gave me was a temporary license. It was based upon an FBI background check. It was given by a caseworker named Yolanda Garcia. She is now in the Department of Human Services in Salem, Oregon. Okay? She gave me it based upon a friendship that I had with a couple that lives right here in Vancouver, named Lester Parker and Nisi Jones. Their son, Eric Jones, was in care through the state of Oregon, and their parents lived here in Washington. In fact, off of Snowberry Loop, okay, and you can look up the street. Now, they asked me, and we were friends, because their son was in trouble. They knew some of my background. They said, "You ever thought about taking on one that from the background that you've been, you could probably help?" I said, "Oh no, I don't know if I want to do that."
So you did, and the child was placed with you.
I did. Yolanda Garcia was instituted. She got involved. She said, she interviewed me. She said, "We're going to do a full, but not a regular security check. We're going to, because you're new to this, we're going to do a full FBI background check." When they did the check, it took them a couple weeks. Actually, I didn't hear nothing. I thought something must be wrong. I don't think anything's wrong in my background. However, something must be wrong. She finally called me. She exclaimed, Richard, we're so happy. My God, your background. You know, I said, "Well, what are you talking about, Miss Garcia?" She said, "Can you take Eric Jones now?" I said, "But I thought I needed parenting class." And she said, "No, you've been through parts of the military and so forth. Will you just update your CPR care? Will you take him now?" He's a 260-pound kid, black kid. I said, "Have you worked it out with the parents?" "We have." "Will you take it?" "Well, I just bought my first home in Oregon in 1998 at 8748 North Endicott Street. And I leased the home. I had 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath house by myself. I thought, well, you know, I have this extra room. People took me in when I was a kid. I was an incest child. So I have special, maybe that was why. They felt that I could, if I could overcome, if I could go to college, if I could be abused and still move on from that maybe I could share my experience with other children. And maybe in some kind of program that I could develop, which was very new to me, because I didn't see myself as being a benefactor for other children. I saw myself that maybe I could help them go through some of the obstacles I had overcome, but I never saw myself as an advocate for kids. I didn't want to go back through that which I had been through. It was very lonely being without your father and mother. And then later on, you find out, well, you're considered, excuse my friend, you're a bastard child. You're this and that, So you have to deal with that. I had caseworker named Chris. I don't remember her last name. She was a lady.
Mr. Gill, I understand your real life experiences as far as what you've done with your life and trying to help children in foster care. So I commend that.
The state of Oregon, sir, has done this 6 or 7 different times.
Place children with you based upon your real life experiences as a foster child that's gone through the system. Until you can establish that he has some expertise in this field, he's not allowed to testify or give opinions in regards to Ezekiel. Next question, please.
Okay, my next question, Mr. Gill, is I've had lots of conversations with you regarding my son Ezekiel.
That's correct.
Okay, and you decided to help me with this case in that you helped me with some of the paperwork because you were accustomed to doing it, correct? To me, many cases involve reading. People forget to read. They don't know how. I'm very good at it. I read every word. I have every page to everything I get. That's helped me in my business banking career because I've caught things that other people haven't caught, from underwriters to judges to lawyers to attorneys, and I've developed a reputation for me to read very well and not miss anything. This help you in consummating the $30 million water deal?
Very much so. I took on something that people didn't read the package. They wouldn't ask the hard questions. They're always wanting to blow smoke up somebody's behind quarters instead of get to the bottom of why the deal hadn't been funded.
Mr. Gill, have you seen the house that we're buying on 47th Avenue?
I have.
Have you been there?
I've been there.
There's 5, possibly 6 bedrooms. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Does Ezekiel have his own room?
He would have his own room according to the layout of the plan that you have shared with me, and there's plenty of room there.
The room that you slept in the other night when you were helping do some of this paperwork, is that not Ezekiel's room?
I slept like a baby. Yes, it was Ezekiel's room. I felt very good there.
Okay. I have no further questions at this time.
Ms. Martin, questions?
Yes. How long have you and Mr. Gibson been working on this $30 million deal?
See, this is, I first became aware of it last January, but my actual getting assigned to the deal, actually turned over to me, was probably in July.
July.
No, let me take that back. May, June, yes, July of 2011.
Thank you. As a sexual abuse survivor, Mr. Gibson has been claiming that because I was an incest survivor that, I could be dangerous as a parent. Do you consider yourself dangerous because you have a sexual abuse background?
I would say no. I'm not a parent, though, right now.
Oh, so if you were a parent, you might be concerned that you would be dangerous with children because you have been through incest.
Help me to understand your question.
I am an incest survivor.
Okay.
He's trying to get the court to believe that because of that, I'm too damaged and I'm dangerous as a parent. You're a sexual abuse survivor who apparently cares for children. You don't think that you might be dangerous because of your former issues? It's something, you can't even talk about it. I wrote about mine, but if something gets triggered while you're with a child who's been abused and you may not be appropriate? Or do you feel that you have rehabilitated yourself and you're capable of parenting even though you had a very abusive childhood?
You asked me about 6 questions just now.
Are you capable of parenting even though you had a very abusive, incestuous childhood?
I'm very capable of
Thank you. I have
parenting
no
based
more
upon the
questions,
fact
Your
that the state of Washington,
Redirect,
Oregon have
Your
given me
Honor.
licenses
Go ahead,
in both
Mr.
states.
Gibson.
Mr. Gill, have you ever been diagnosed by a psychologist or psychiatrist as being manic, hypermanic, or psychotic?
I never have.
Never have?
Been through mental health counseling as a kid. They never thought me as psychotic. They thought me as being abused by somebody.
So, having been sexually abused as a child, as she's intimating that that might be the reason, as was her situation, that you would not be able to be a parent to a child. But she left out the part about her being diagnosed as being psychotic, hypermanic, and all of that. Would that make a difference if you...
Objection, Your Honor, he's not an expert.
Sustained. Next question.
Mr. Gill, my question would be simply this. Based on what you know about me and the conversations we've had about my child, do you think that I am an abusive father in your estimation, based on what you know?
No.
Were you privy to read her book, Eating My Way to Heaven?
Yes, I have been privy to reading the book. It's very disturbing to me.
It's very disturbing?
Because there's a female that molested me. It was not a male.
Objection, Your Honor. The book is not in evidence, and I don't know the relevance of this, where this is going.
What's the relevance, Mr. Gibson?
Well, the relevance is in that book, she talks about running naked with an autistic child out on the streets in Western Avenue. I think it's very relevant.
Objection, Your Honor.
And he read the book, and
Why is that relevant, Mr. Gibson?
Well, because she seems to have no concern about her living friend playing with my little boy naked. I do.
The objection sustained.
Thank you.
You didn't connect it for me, sir. I didn't get the connection between passages in the book to what she's doing now.
Yeah, because it hasn't changed now. The things are still going on.
There's no evidence before me to connect those two thoughts of yours, so the objection sustained. It's not relevant at this point.
Okay. Are you concerned about where my son Ezekiel is at this moment and who he might be with?
I'm very concerned with where Ezekiel is right now, and I'm very concerned based upon what I have perceived and based upon your concern, and I hear it every day when I were talking about water and our water transportation financial project. I hear it constantly from you more than I hear about your concern about the water project. So yes, I'm very concerned about Ezekiel. I was Ezekiel. So I'm at his age.
Objection, Your Honor. He doesn't know.
Can I answer my question, please? Be allowed to
Yes.
answer your
I
question?
have a right to object.
Stop. The objection sustained. Next question, please.
I have no further questions of this witness at this
Anything
time.
further?
No.
Thank you, Ms. Gill. Excused. Next witness, please.
The next witness I have would be Mr. Ralph Prentice. If we could,
So you don't have any other witnesses to call today?
if we could do a telephonic,
Other than Mr. Prentice, do you have any other witnesses to call, sir?
not at this time.
So, do you plan on testifying?
Yes, I do.
And other than yourself, do you have anyone else that is going to testify on your behalf?
That's not here today if I can't make the telephonic call.
Other than Mr. Prentice, do you have any other witnesses other than yourself, Mr. Gibson?
No, I do not.
Mr. Gibson handed the clerk a envelope addressed to me during the break.
Okay.
It's addressed to the Clark County Superior Court Annex, Judge Ruley's Court 2. I haven't opened it because I wasn't going to do so without you being present.
Okay.
Do you have any objections if I open this envelope?
Let's see what it is. No, Your Honor.
What is it, Mr. Gibson?
It's from my pastor. I have no idea what the contents are.
And what is your
And
pastor's
my
name?
pastor is Reverend W.G. Hardy of Highland Christian Center. He was going to testify today, but he was not at church yesterday as he's ill, homesick ill, and could not be here today either.
Any objections if I read the letter?
No, Your Honor.
Ray, Mr. Wardell Gibson's hearing. I'm pleased to write this letter of recommendation for Mr. Wardell Gibson. Mr. Gibson has been a faithful member in good standing at Highland United Church of Christ over 5 years. Mr. Gibson is one of our most dedicated deacons. He is committed to his work at the church with the Burnside Feed Project, which feeds and clothes the homeless during the winter months. He is also a very vital part of our ministries at Highland, including the annual men's retreat, which addresses needs specific to men and at-risk youth. Although I'm aware of the differences Mr. Gibson has in his relationship with his ex-spouse, I have witnessed him with his son Ezekiel. The relationship seems warm, and Mr. Gibson seems attentive. He comes highly recommended, as I have witnessed his growth, maturity, and his commitment to bettering himself. If you have any further questions, please feel free to contact me. Yours in Christ, Reverend Dr. Wilbert G. Hardy, Jr., Senior Pastor, Highland United Church of Christ.
I appreciate that very much.
So I do not get to cross-examine this man because he's not coming. He has relevant information.
Well, did you subpoena him?
No. He was on his witness list. I didn't think it was necessary. Whatever.
File the letter, please.
Yes, sure.
Is this a current telephone number for Mr. Prentice? 503-902-2505. Do you know Mr. Gibson?
If I might be able to check my phone, I can confirm, because he's got 2 or 3 phone numbers, as he has a number of businesses. You give me just a moment, turn my phone on, and
So based on this, my out-of-town witnesses that couldn't make it here are welcome to testify by phone?
I'm allowing it for his witness. I'll allow it for your witness,
Thank you, Your Honor.
assuming we can patch him through. I can't guarantee we can.
I understand.
I have 503-902-2505.
Yes.
Yes, that should work.
We'll call him, see if he's there.
Okay.
Do we have a number he can call into?
I can call him up. Okay. He would have to call in and it would have to be one of those. The phones in here don't ring. So Lyndon has to email me to tell me, okay, transferring him in now, and then,
Well, see if he can reach him. He's not there.
yeah. When they did the phones in here, they made them non-ringable. And try as I could, I've never been able to figure out how to do that.
Ralph, if you're there, pick up. I'll attempt to call you once again.
Okay, let's take a 10-minute break to see if you can get your witness, Mr. Gibson. If not, we'll begin with your testimony.
Okay.
I have 3:17, is that?
10 minutes, Mr. Gibson.